Following the assembly of your models and certainly having your learners gathered around and your tables set up and everything, this is the steps to go through for the endometrial biopsy workshop itself. Following the bimanual exam, talking through how to do that, whether that is done on the Zoe model indicated previously. This next step is the insertion of the speculum itself and visualization of the cervix, having that stabilized, talking through how one would go about prepping the cervix and whether that is using a ring forceps and 4x4s and betadine, or in the betadine allergic patient with some Hibiclens. That is certainly appropriate to try too. Additional steps that can be practiced during this model is the anesthetic of a cervix for this particular procedure, and whether that is intrauterine injection or lidocaine gel or certainly a cervical block. That is something that learners can practice and talk through too. And then finally, the next step is the application of a tenaculum in order to stabilize the cervix and the uterus, and this can easily be done using this baby bottle technique and a sound. And it's important as a faculty member to try this out beforehand so that your sound easily passes through the size nipple that you've chosen, and also you've created your model with the appropriate depth. This one in particular, we wanted it to mimic a normal depth of a uterus and had that sounded to a depth of 7 centimeters, and check that beforehand. Some people avoid the sound step and they just use the pipelle itself and double check and use that as a sound first prior to doing the biopsy, and that is something else that one can do. Once the pipelle is inserted, it's easy with this model to have the learners practice visualizing taking a sample throughout the uterus and gently aspirating back. And the nice thing about this with the red Jell-O is they can actually visualize, and you can visualize with them, the aspiration of the intrauterine contents, much like if they were doing a real endometrial biopsy. Finally, one can practice then over the table with the specimen bottles, and you can have other assistants certainly available. They can practice placing that specimen inside the bottle without contaminating the tip, and that way if they need to collect additional material they can. So that's an important step for learners to get used to doing, and you can have them resample at that stage as needed. Okay. After several learners have gone through this station, it's helpful to flush the pipelles out if they're going to be used. So having a bottle of water, to flush it so that the Jell-O does not stick is an also helpful step too. Okay. And finally, as the tenaculum is removed, one can role play what to do in the event that there was significant cervical bleeding. So for example, the application of non-cell solution or something like that with a Q-tip applicator to those sites of bleeding. And finally, the removal of the speculum. So there are multiple different aspects of this that can be practiced. One can also utilize the Zoe, the GYN simulator, if you would desire to practice an endometrial biopsy. Just of note, it's not possible to fill that with Jell-O. So it's helpful with this to actually be able to see the aspiration of the contents. But if that was not important to you, you can certainly use the GYN simulator to model all the other steps.